In a world of 350 billion movie podcasts, two chumps have decided that now is the time for cult movies to engage in combat. Disagreements will be had, blood may be spilled, and voiceover artists most definitely will not be paid. This is Cult Film Face-Off.
Hello and welcome to episode 70 of Cult Film Face-Off. My name is Chet Rogers. With me as usual is Nick Leonard.
Cheers, biggers.
This episode we're going to be looking at the second most beloved time travel comedy series of all time, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure versus...
Oh,
go on.
what's your first?
Well, no, it's everyone's first.
Go on.
Time travel comedies?
Quantum Leap.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Doctor Who. Back to the Future.
Back to the Future, yeah. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Thank you, incidentally, to Andrew198205 on Twitter, and also apologies to Andrew198205 on Twitter, because what was originally suggested to us was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure versus Wayne's World. When we got that suggestion, we thought that's a great excuse to do Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey versus Wayne's World 2. But then we thought, this is going to be a whitewash in both cases. We both thought there's no point because Bill and Ted win outright every time. So we decided to do Bogus Journey versus Excellent Adventure. And in 2 weeks' time, our next episode will be Wayne's World versus Wayne's World 2. However, over the last couple of weeks, I've been asking random people, Bill and Ted or Wayne's World? The number of people who said Wayne's World unequivocally, and I said, you remember Bill and Ted, right? Keanu Reeves, and they were like, yeah, Wayne's World. And I was like, so the amount of people that thought that Wayne's World is a whitewash complete.
I think the reason for that being is that there was just so much hype around Wayne's World. They were getting interviewed on every single British television show. They would just promote the shit out of it.
But why would people think that that's a... Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Basically, at the end of the next episode, the end of the Wayne's World episode, we will rank the films where we think they are in order, our order of preference. Before watching these films again for this podcast, I would have said it was Bogus Journey, Excellent Adventure, Wayne's World, and then Wayne's World 2. What would you have said before?
I would have said it instinctively. I would have said Bogus Journey, Excellent Adventure, Wayne's World 2, and then Wayne's World.
Okay, all right, so fairly similar. But we'll find out whether our opinions have changed at the end of the next episode. Okay, well, anyway, we will start off this episode with the first film to introduce us to Bill and Ted. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure from 1989, directed by Stephen Herrick. On the cusp of failing their high school history class, two budding rock musicians named Bill and Ted are visited from the future by a man named Rufus, who insists that acing their history report is more important than they can possibly imagine. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Now, a motion picture so grand, so magnificent, and so vast, it spans 7,000 years.
No way! Yes way!
But it starts with Bill.
I'm Bill S. Preston!
Who was Joan of Arc?
And Ted.
Noah's wife? We're in danger of flunking most heinously tomorrow.
A force from the future.
Can we go anywhere we want at any time?
You can do anything you want.
Is putting history at their fingertips.
Let's reach out and touch someone.
They're traveling through time.
How's it going, Royal Ugly Dudes?
Put them in the Iron Maiden.
Excellent!
Execute them.
Bogus! How's it going, dude?
And they're making a big impression.
Historical babes.
Now they're home.
Everybody get together, remember who your buddy is.
To trash the 20th century.
You got a live one here.
Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter, Napoleon.
We're from history.
Billy the Kid.
Oh my God!
Joan of Arc. Sigmund Freud.
Tell me about your mother.
You a musician?
Beethoven.
Genghis Khan!
Abraham Lincoln.
Party on, dudes!
Socrates. George Carlin.
We're history.
If you guys are really us, what number are we thinking of? 69, dudes!
Bill and Ted's
Excellent! Excellent!
Excellent Adventure.
Party on, dude.
Okay, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I assume you have seen this before?
I have seen it before, yes.
On the big screen?
Never on the big screen, no.
Right, okay. Home video.
TV.
Oh,
Did I rent it? I must have rented it. And subsequently saw it on television afterwards. It was a regular fixture on Sunday nights, I seem to remember.
Okay.
I don't know. In my head, it was on Sunday nights. I watched it. I haven't seen it for 20 plus years.
Same here. But I didn't see it at the cinema. It came out at an age where if it was a PG, I would go and see it. But for some reason, I think I saw Bill and Ted and assumed that there was prior knowledge needed. I didn't know who Bill and Ted were. But I rented it on video. I mean, double digits.
Wow.
Rented it plenty.
Wow.
And so, I loved the film. Absolutely loved it. You loved it back then, obviously, as well.
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't love it.
Oh, you didn't love it? Okay.
No. It was, I was thinking about this. I was thinking, it was all right.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Okay.
It was never one of those comedies that I religiously watched on repeat like I would with the Naked Gun films,
Right, sure.
like I did with Monty Python films. I never did that with Bill and Ted.
Okay, I mean, I would have been 8 or 9, so it was perfect. It was perfect fodder for that age. But I mean, so watching it now in 2019, what did you think?
Well, what a quaint feeling film. It's charmingly innocent. There's no drugs. There's no sex. There's no violence. It's engaging, and I didn't find it particularly funny then. I didn't find it particularly now. It's just very endearing. I really appreciated watching it now, what a good screenplay actually is.
It's a terrific script.
Anchored by two immensely likeable leads.
Totally.
The historical performances, some of them are especially on point. I mean, anything with Socrates and Beethoven is proper gags. I loved Socrates and Billy the Kid attempting to chat up girls in the mall. Brilliant. What do you think? What's your thoughts of watching it now?
I loved it as a kid. I if anything, I think I love it even more now. First thing, because I haven't seen it in such a long time. When it started, I was just overcome with memories. But just because I used to watch this film a lot with my 3 sisters, and we would be in fits of uncontrollable hysterics during the opening credits.
Right.
It's a CGI thing of a diamond moving towards a clock, and has this. I think it's because it's so dramatic. It has this kind of I don't know what you'd call it, like funk rock, really moody music.
Yeah.
It seems so serious and out of whack. It's completely incongruous. We used to find it hysterically funny that something starts that seems to be that dramatic. In praising this film, you have to start with the acting, because I think the acting does. I mean, the script is absolutely superb, I think, but the acting, it's an ensemble cast. Everyone's on the same page, and it's just so rare to see. I couldn't really fault anyone. I thought actually Napoleon was unbelievably good. Terry Camilleri, his name was. He's absolutely superb. But even the smaller parts, Bernie Casey is their teacher. Yeah, he's in probably 2 or 3 scenes, and he's a guy who doesn't tolerate this shit. He won't have them disrupt his cast, but he still believes. He hasn't given up on them, and it's a tiny few moments that he has, but he just sells it completely. It's always hard to tell whether it's a result of good direction, whether they've had loads of rehearsal time, or whether it's just performers with really, really good instincts. But it's moments of acting that make the film so... You get invested in it, and it's so pleasurable to watch. So there's little bits like Napoleon stomping his feet when he gets dragged off the water slide, or Beethoven just trying to get his head around where the music's coming from the keyboard. There's this tiny, silly, really obvious bit where a cop's interviewing Sigmund Freud, and he's like, "Tell me about your mother." It's such a simple and obvious joke, but it's so well sold by the performers.
And Abe Lincoln's really good as well.
It's just really so well played. There's a bit where Ted's dad, he's arguing with Bill's dad on their way into the auditorium at the end, and he does this sort of weird mental tap dance of fury in this argument. I don't know what you call that. It's inspired. And it's such a pleasure to watch. And I know it's a good film because there are so many things that I think about where I think, I'd watch that film. I'd watch a film about how Socrates and Billy the Kid got into the position of those executioners. I'd watch that play out. I'd watch Bill and Ted go around planting stuff in the past when they towards the end. I'd watch the historical figures get dropped off back. Who was grateful for the journey? Who didn't want to go? There's just so much. I think I enjoyed being with those characters so much that I just started thinking about other. I could watch other films with just them getting paired off. I mean, it's just this, and I think that's a lot to do with the acting.
It all really comes together in the mall scene.
Oh, right.
The 20-minute mall scene is just brilliant. It's intercut really well. Every one of those characters relating to modern day, whether it's Joan of Arc taking over the fitness classes to everybody, or Genghis Khan destroying a sports store. It's just done so well. It's just a brilliant piece of. It's brilliant editing. It's good. It's great gags. Beethoven learning his way around all the fucking keyboards and everything. It's just a brilliant standout timeless piece of film comedy, and I appreciated it way more now than I actually did as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't think it's an amazing comedy.
It's not. It's not. But there's not enough gags in there.
I think that's true. But writing stupid dialogue that's funny is an art form. I remember growing up in the 90s, walking around Blockbuster. Every other video was two fucking idiots fuck up, and you just watch these films, and them being stupid is not funny.
What about Biodome, Paulie Shaw?
I still have never seen that. People rate that film. Maybe
if anyone's listening and can do a pair up with Biodome with something, it's one of those things that always looks in Blockbuster. There was always the zany amazing comedy. I would be very interested to watch that. Yeah,
I'd any excuse to watch shit like that. It's all good. But yeah, there are lines of this that I just think are simultaneously clever, and there's character in them. And there was one. My favourite joke in the film comes really early when they leave, when they're told how catastrophic it'll be if they fail, and they leave the classroom at the very beginning. And Bill says, one thing I do know, Ted, is that Joan wasn't Noah's wife. Yeah. Joan of Arc wasn't Noah's wife. And Ted says, then who was Noah's wife? Straight down the most irrelevant avenue possible. And also, I love the fact that when they're posing as nobility in the Middle Ages, a man whose name is Theodore opts to call himself the Duke of Ted. There's such great character beats in those dialogue. And I don't think it's a sensationally good comedy, but there's no fucking. It doesn't sell the characters short by trying to I think if they'd over-egged it with them being dumb, I think it would have really, really sort of killed the whole atmosphere of the film.
My favourite line in the film was, I don't know, is he a younger brother of one of the characters that they're playing baseball, and he's talking about Napoleon being one of the greatest leaders of our time. He went, he was a dick.
He was a dick.
He cracked me up. Most of it's smirky. It's smirky dialogue. There's no real belly laughs to be had here.
I did. I mean, the lines that I said earlier really did make me laugh. But yeah, I know. I do agree with you. It's. I think its brilliance as a script is not. I think part of the brilliance of it is that it doesn't overrate the comedy. But when people talk about this as an all-time great comedy, I do wonder what they mean, really.
Yeah.
The scene when they start realising that they can mess with the timeline, when they're planting things in the police station. When I was a kid, that was Nirvana, because every time travel movie there's a dark side. There's all these rules. Don't fuck with anything. And they were just like, fuck. And I was just like, this is just like so pleasurable to watch them just say fuck all that stuff. We're just going to start messing with stuff. No dire consequences. Really funny, really clever. That was still enjoyable to watch. I mean, as a kid, I remember just thinking, I was just so excited by it. But it's an excellent concept for a film. It's an excellent script. It has excellent performances by almost everyone. I think it's an excellent film.
Yeah, I mean, they really do bounce off each other. Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves obviously having a really good time in those characters. Yeah. And it's you enjoy being with those characters.
Mm-hmm. And even when it wasn't being overtly funny, there was things in it that amused me as a kid, and they amused me now. I do think it's amusing. It's not a thigh slapper or anything, but the way that Billy the Kid just was nonplussed from the beginning, he was just like, "Yeah, fine. This is something that's happening." He didn't question anything. He
probably would. It's an adventure. He probably would, wouldn't he?
It's like, yeah, this is fine. I always found that amusing. I'd quite like to have watched this with somebody younger, because I don't know how good it looks today. I was so lost in it, and so lost in sort of my reassessment of the film I loved as a kid. I don't know whether is it as terrific as I think it is? I mean, I think you must be able to appreciate the
filmmaking
and the storytelling and the acting.
The script is great. The screenplay's great.
Yeah,
I'll be very interested to know what young'uns in this day thought of it.
I felt like this stands up exceptionally well. Part of it is because it's such a big-hearted, sweet-natured film, but also because I think the acting is just absolutely. It's not praised enough particularly in comedies, but just performers who are on the sidelines just killing it, absolutely killing it.
But everyone in it there's not a bad performance. No. Both their dads are on point, Missy's on point.
And if you want to see the ultimate cinematic conundrum involving Missy, check our YouTube channel, Ultimate Film Conundrums or something, Bill and Ted's Adventure. Check that out. I loved watching this again. Loved it. I think it's a terrific film.
Yeah, that was great to see it again. Yep, so should we go on to the sequel?
Yes, let's go on to the sequel. 2 years later in 1991, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, directed by Peter Hewitt. After being murdered by a pair of robot doppelgangers sent from the future by a villain named Denominus, Bill and Ted are forced to compete with Death himself in order to return to the land of the living and once again reset the course of history. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
I have a feeling we're about to embark upon a most unprecedented expedition.
Once they made history.
I must see to it that you die.
Now, they are history. Bill and Ted are dead.
Welcome to hell.
It's the Grim Reaper, dude.
How's it hanging, Death?
But they're having one hell of a time.
This is not what I expected this place to look like at all.
We got totally lied to by our album covers, man.
Taking in the sights.
Not bad, dude.
We totally knew a guy got one of those in his bucket of chicken.
Making new friends.
Excuse us, dude, but is there any way we can get back?
You may challenge me to a contest.
J7.
You have sunk my battleship.
Excellent!
Best 2 out of 3.
What?
Enjoying the family.
No way!
Invading the present.
I totally possessed my dad.
Battling the future.
You're metal, dude.
Excuse us, but your shoes are untied. Can't believe we just Melvin death.
And meeting their maker.
Guy,
Congratulations on Earth.
not to mention your other great planets. Mars, Jupiter, Uranus.
It's the comeback of all time. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. It's a trip.
Best of 7?
Damn right!
Ah, dude! Left hand red. Ah! Yeah!
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Okay, so I'm assuming you'd seen this as well as the first one?
Yes, I'd seen it, but I reckon I'd only seen it once.
Really?
Yeah, because I had no recollection.
Really?
I was just like, what the fuck even happens in the second one?
Right.
And then I looked at the cover and I was like,
Death, yeah.
it's
William Sadler.
Sadler is the Grim Reaper.
Mm-hmm.
Then it started coming back to me, but I couldn't remember about the robots. So I obviously had watched the original way more than Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Right.
What about yourself?
I saw it at the cinema. A friend and I, when I was 10, 11, we watched Excellent Adventure the night before. He stayed at my place, and then we went to the cinema and saw the matinee of Bogus Journey. And I walked out absolutely convinced, 100% this was better than Excellent Adventure. 100%. I was ecstatically happy with it when I saw it at the cinema. And then I rented it plenty afterwards when it came out. So it was I probably loved it as much, if not more, than Excellent Adventure back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, I laughed way more at
Did you
Bogus
really?
Journey. Yeah, way more. It ramps everything up. It's more surreal, it's more opulent, it's more exciting, it's more imaginative, and it's one of those instances where I think it usurps the original.
Yeah, that's what I felt at the time. Watching it this time, alarm bells started ringing pretty much immediately because, is it Jim Martin, the guy from Faith No More who appears at the beginning? I think it was Jim Martin, I can't remember. He comes out of the phone box and says station, and I was like, oh no, I forgot fucking station, the ultimate Deus Ex Machina. They need to solve a problem, so they go and get these aliens to go and solve the problems for them. It suddenly came flooding back to me. Whoa, that's suddenly, back in the day didn't mind. Yeah. Now I just thought, oh god, that's really lame, and I hadn't even got to that part of the film yet. It's very inventive. It's quite well plotted, but I think you can really compare these two films to the first two Back to the Future films, because when I saw Back to the Future 2, I was like, forget about the first one. This is so much better. Yeah. Watching it when you're older, you miss the heart, you miss the humour, and that's the same way I feel about the sequels here. I really missed the heart, and I didn't find it as amusing as the first one. And it certainly didn't have the heart and the charm of Excellent Adventure, but William Sadler, when it came out, he was everyone's favourite thing about it, and that's the same.
He steals the show. He steals the show. Yeah. He's awesome. He never goes hammy, and so much comedy is derived from just his embarrassment and self-consciousness.
Yeah, I know. He is. I mean, he's one of the most unsung actors. We've spoken about him multiple times. But his scenes, I mean, especially when he goes on the mic at the end, they reminded me of the first film, because you just think, it's like a fantasy. What would Death say if he was on the mic at a rock concert? But he is spectacular in this film. He really is excellent, and he's the best thing in it. I think it's a good sequel, but I do wonder if maybe I would have been more. It's interesting that you don't really recall it, because I watched this plenty when I was a kid. If I hadn't seen it so much, would I be more forgiving of the things that...
Yeah, I was kind of like, it's almost revelatory. I was like, my God, I was really... I mean, whether it's to do with kind of like seeing the first one in quick succession to the second one and again being warmed up to that world.
Maybe.
But I just got loads of enjoyment out of it. I mean, I love the scene where Bill and Ted possess Ted's dad and one of the police officers.
Yeah, right,
it's just brilliant. Yeah. It's done very well. It's technically done well. It's just funny. Missy breaking the heart of Bill's dad. He's got
I thought that was I was like, that's really snide. I thought she was quite I mean, I know they made out that she slept around when she was at high school.
I think anyone who looks at her, she's like,
but I was just like,
just horn on legs.
But it was just like, Bill's dad's fucked up. And
that made me laugh. That was fucked up. It was just dark. It made me laugh.
And then at the end it says Missy marries Denominus at the end, and I was just like, whoa.
Yeah. She's the fucking town bike.
It was quite unkind to her, I thought. But then again, maybe they kind of insinuated as much in the first one, so maybe that's just me.
It was just for me. It was just peppered with really funny scenes. I mean, having William Sadler as the Grim Reaper shopping for scythes at the hardware store, or just being a really bad loser at Clue and Battleships. I mean, it was just brilliant. It was just gag. The gag hit rate was just so much higher, and that's what I wanted. Also, the set design was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Some of the costumes as well. I love how
the Vision of Hell is like an Iron Maiden fucking album cover.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots to like in this film. I think this might be, if anything, I think I saw this more than Excellent Adventure, and probably I saw it more recently. But I did think the heart of the original was missing, and I did actually find the original film funnier. But then again, I'd seen this so many times, and when I was in the cinema watching them play Battleships with Death and him just not being able to hack losing, I remember just thinking this is spectacular. I thought it was a bit of a sick joke how it ends where they do their gig at the end at Battle of the Bands and they play Kiss over the top of it and it's kind of implied that they're playing that song. Mm. You don't want to be playing Kiss. No, that would lead to the end of the world. That would be they start playing a song by the worst band who've ever existed. Yeah. Horrific. I was like, what, Kiss? No, I don't remember this. No, you can't because it kind of they kind of sync it up so it looks like they're playing the song and it's one of their songs.
Damnation.
Exactly, that's what we'd all be in hell if that was the future. But
a great cameo from Pamela Greer.
Yeah, looking like $1,000,000.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and she's very, very, very good. I mean, Joss Acton's good as well. It's another one of those really another one of those films.
Great ensemble cast.
You can't really fault the performers. No doubt. I liked it. It just left me a bit cold, whereas I felt warm and fuzzy watching Excellent Adventure, and I did laugh more at it.
Yeah, I mean, my go-to would be Bogus Journey.
Really?
Yeah.
This is difficult because there's no way I'm going with Bogus Journey. I have to go with Excellent Adventure. Shit.
Yeah. I'm not budging.
Oh, fuck. Okay. It looks like we're going to our adjudicator, the Ostinator. I hope he knows what's up, but...
hey, I think the track record is that we should have a little tally, actually.
I think
Ostinator results.
I'm pretty sure I'm ahead because he went with Halloween 2 and he went with the most recent one we did, which was the Corman film. No, he didn't. Sorry, I lost that one. Yeah. But anyway, we're going to go to the Ostinator now. Hopefully he knows what's up. Adjudicate away.
Oh shit, we got a tiebreaker.
Hello, Cult from Face Off. Ostinator here, aka James H. Austin Esquire. I'll keep this quick and simple. Ultimately, I feel it's got to go the way of Excellent Adventure. Obviously, lots of kudos. The fact it was the original. Some inspired casting with George Carlin as Rufus. I love the whole idea of taking the joy of time travel a la Quantum Leap. And obviously bringing back the historical characters. For me as a youth, it was the first time I heard names of historical characters like Joan of Arc, Napoleon, who's a dick, and Socrates, aka Socrates, and of course the wonderful stepmom Missy. That being said, Bogus Journey has some lovely moments in it as well, notably the Melvining of Death, and the most incredible and memorable last song possibly in any film ever, the anthemic God Gave Rock and Roll to You. Despite the high production values, I still find the original to be the best. But that being said, also the animated TV series was fantastic, and I'm sure we all are, eagerly anticipating the third instalment of the feature franchise. Look forward to catching up with you soon, guys. Peace out.
Eliminator with the Ostinator.
Okay, so that was the Ostinator's verdict. I'm sure he went with Excellent Adventure because that's the connoisseur's choice.
No, he knows his onions. He's definitely down Bogus.
I would be very surprised if he did that. But have we had any correspondence on this one?
Yeah, we've had a couple. Talking about Wayne's World 1 and 2 and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure versus Bogus Journey. Al Winter, easy. Wayne's World 2 and Excellent Adventure.
Interesting.
John Wheeler, probably both sequels, more meaty elements to talk about. Wayne's World 2 is more of the same, but Bogus Journey went darker. I think there's discussion to be had in how does one follow up a breakout hit.
Yeah, true.
Wayne Garth, Wayne, in capital letters.
Oh, what? No, nothing about Bill? No. Okay, well, the Ostinator chose wisely, I believe.
Bogus all day long.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. But anyway, thank you very much for listening. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with our verdicts on Wayne's World and Wayne's World 2, and then we'll put all 4 of the films in order and for a definitive countdown list. Hopefully we don't need to go to the Ostinator again. But we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Thank you very much for listening. Check out all of our Twitter, Facebook, all that crap. We'll see you again.
Ciao, guys.
Goodbye.
Cult Film Face-Off.
We traveled through time. I mean, we met lots of great leaders, and we got an A+ on our history report. And look at us. Nothing's different.
It's been nearly 30 years since Bill and Ted passed their history exam. And for fans hoping for a third installment to complete the trilogy, turns out there is a most triumphant comeback in the works.
We talked for a while. If we were ever going to do another Bill and Ted movie, why would we want to do it? Well, we'd want to do it for the same reason that we did the first 2, which is because
we love these guys.
We love these guys, and there's something to say.
Chris and Ed came to us, in 2007?
2000, yeah.
And with the idea of doing it, and they pitched us an idea, and it sounded great, and then they've been really collaborative with us, which is really cool.
So the third movie is called Bill and Ted Face the Music. It's kind of like A Christmas Carol with Bill and Ted. It's kind of looking at their lives and really kind of rediscovering what they're about.
Wild Stallion's music has become the foundation of our whole society.
No way.
Yes way.
We knew that they couldn't have actually written the song, right? Because they've actually written the song, then they're big stars and they've saved the world, and then the only story is they've had a falling out, and we didn't want to do that. That seemed boring to us. So that was no fun. But the version, we're like, they haven't come up with it. And the pressure of that, oh my God, at 17, 16, you're told you're going to save the world.
You see, eventually, your music will help put an end to war and poverty. It will align the planets and bring them into universal harmony, allowing meaningful contact with all forms of life.
And now you're 50, and you haven't done it. And just the weight of that, and now they're married, and it affects their marriages, and it affects their relationships with their kids, and it affects their everything. And then, the future actually shows up, and it's like, you've got to do it right now. That seemed kind of fun and interesting to us.
I'm really looking forward to going back into the playground with him. And, and with him as Ted and being in that space. I mean, for me, the fun of Bill and Ted is the fun of interacting with Keanu and the banter and the way we play with the language and the characters.
Find the scenes.
Yeah, and the emotionality and who's ripping off the emotionality, how. That's really what's fun about those movies.